So the Supreme Court just weakened the Voting Rights Act once again. Depending on who you are, this is the end of the world. Or if you're Clarence Thomas, this is the greatest thing ever. And I think for the most part, if your complexion is like this, you're feeling pretty down right now. And I get it. It's a pretty big deal. You know, it feels like we're constantly getting kicked in the butt ever since the orange guy got elected. I've been seeing different takes across the spectrum. Some people are terrified. Some people are indifferent. Some people don't really know what to make of it. And, you know, I'm going to take this opportunity, hopefully, to give you my take on it. So let's go. So there's 3 pivotal moments that I want to point to that I think led up to this situation with the Supreme Court continuing to dismantle the Voting Rights Act. The first one's going to be Ruth Bader Ginsburg refusing to retire before she passed away, unfortunately, while serving as a Supreme Court justice. The second is going to be Mitch McConnell holding up Obama's last Supreme Court pick. And the third is going to be, obviously, the election of Donald Trump. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg. All right. Now, I'm not going to bash her. You know, she's done a lot of great things. She's known as a warrior of the left, but I think that her legacy is going to be forever tarred due to the fact that, in my opinion, she let her pride and ego get in the way. She was clearly getting older. I believe she was fighting cancer. But instead of retiring, she made videos of doing push-ups and sit-ups and this is how healthy I am. And eventually, you know, she passed away late in Obama's administration and robbed him, in my opinion, it robbed us of a Supreme Court pick. Number 2. So I don't know if, you know, so much things have happened and it feels like every day is a year. But if you're old enough to remember, you know, Mitch McConnell decided that once Trump was elected, I might have been even before that, that he wasn't going to give Obama the opportunity to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Obama picked Merrick Garland to replace RGB, but the Republicans at the time, led by Mitch McConnell, they were the majority in the Senate, and Mitch McConnell straight up said, no, we're not taking your pick. And, you know, I think this was the start of like the dismantling of norms. I know a lot of people talk about Trump coming in and doing what he wants and not listening to traditions that have kept us sane as a society. But I think this moment, Mitch McConnell doing what he did at that time was kind of like the first brick to fall when it comes to dismantling the norms that we all thought kept our government and society stable. But hey, what can you do? And then number 3, 2016, if Hillary had won, if Comey hadn't, you know, done that last minute press conference, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, probably. Who knows? But it happened. Elections have consequences. You know, people are still litigating that. They're saying Bernie got robbed, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. We're dealing with real consequences right now. Like we're having a video about the Voting Rights Act we're doing a video right now about the Voting Rights Act being dismantled. Those are consequences. That's what happens when you stay home. That's what happens when you say, well, I'm not going to vote because I don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils. You got to make a decision. So, like, some of you can ask me, like, why are you bringing up this all up? And I guess my point is that this was all inevitable. This is part of a longer narrative. That proves that, you know, elections matter. You know, I get wanting to make a moral stand. I get not wanting to vote for the lesser of two evils, but there's only 2 parties. And it's clear that we wouldn't be having this conversation if the Democrats had won. They're not perfect, but You know, we need to pay attention to history when we make these decisions and know which party or which decision align more with our interest, not exactly with our interest. Now, when I say this is inevitable, I don't say this blindly. The Supreme Court already dismantled preclearance. Preclearance was a rule that forced these states to go to the Justice Department before, to make sure any redistricting didn't disenfranchise minorities in those states. They already got rid of that. Now with this ruling, they're able to, legally gerrymander out black districts, making it even harder for minorities to garner political power in those areas, and also potentially enshrining, Republican power in at least the House without the say-so of the voters. That's the future we're possibly facing. Now we can cry about it. We can make memes about it. We could talk about it online, or we could do something. There's strategies. Surprisingly, I agree with Clarence Thomas in this, that things have changed since the 60s. Louisiana, which was the state that brought this most recent ruling, is 33% black. That's a not insignificant portion. It's not a majority, but it's enough to do some damage. Not literal damage, but electoral damage. I think there's one interesting strategy that I've been thinking about that can probably do two good things. A lot of, white liberal leftist people who grow up in these rural areas, after they go to college, they stay in the cities they went to school in. They gentrify those cities. I think maybe you guys should probably go back to where you came from. I know that sounds horrible, but yeah, go back to where you came from. Adjust the balance of population there, make it more blue. Help the people there. I want to make it clear, this isn't the end of the battle. There are plenty of Republican and right-leaning think tanks that are thinking of even more ways to gut the Voting Rights Act. There's still more they can do to make it harder for minorities in these areas. And when that happens, I'll make another video pleading for more strategy, pleading for us to do more. But as a wise man once said, don't boo, vote.